Hello, guys, and welcome back to a new episode of Rocket Lab Weekly. So, this is episode 40 of me straight doing Rocket Lab Weeklies. No interruptions so far. I think I've had one other solo stream, so it's the summer and everybody had plans somehow for today. So, no guest today, it's only me. So, I think this is going to be a bit shorter than the usual one, but there is a lot of exciting things. And I want to address one thing. I am not clickbaiting about this 500 million contract. So here is the Andrew Thorpe, for example, but there was also other people. So please stop with the clickbait titles, man. I like your channel, but this is ridiculous. You're directly spreading a lie just to pump up the view count on the stock. So this show is supposed to report on the things that happened this week on Rocket Lab. And there happens to be a rumor about a new 500 million contract. And I think I don't know if it's true. This I will tell you straight up front. But I find it credible enough to present it on this show. Otherwise, I wouldn't even bother. And I'm going to tell you why. We're going to go through some easier Rocket Lab news, and then we're going to go into this, and I will try to have an eye out for your comments. And before we start, I actually want to thank one of you channel members for sending me this sign. It really made me happy. It's actually Curtis Van Kampen, who is also in the chat today. He is the owner of swedishcloth.com, and he actually printed out dishcloths for me that have the Rocket Lab 50th logo, and he sent me a bunch. And he thought that I don't do a lot of dishes, and he said maybe your wife is not going to be a fan of these, so he he sent different ones for my wife, and she was very happy. We started using them today, and really made my day. So I just want to really thank Curtis for this present. So let me just go through the comments. If there's anything. Are you said you didn't buy Tesla? No, I still think, look, I have a limited amount of money, and I am not a big believer in diversifying my own portfolio. And I still think I'm going to be able to buy Tesla once I have more liquidity on my account. Fun fact, my daughter actually bought Tesla with the $50 of her own money, and I was just showing her that she's up $20 because her price range is 170. But I'm a very happy Rocket Lab shareholder, and there is so much catalyst coming up for Rocket Lab that I think we're going to have a very exciting second half of the year. So what happened this week? The stock went sideways this week, but we did close out Friday with a 5% increase, and that was very good. Technically, Rocket Lab is still in this channel between this channel started in 2022 June 30, so it's more than a 2 years channel, and there is a resistance at around 588 and another one at almost $8. I think that we're going to, again, I might be wrong on this, that we're going to be trending up, and we will reach this the top of this resistance line. And I think that we're going to go all the way to 8 this year. Okay, so this is just speculation time. Now let me see. Yeah, Rocket Lab is a 20-year hold. Definitely my thoughts. So let's go through the week of what has happened with Rocket Lab. So they tweeted about their twin spacecraft for NASA Escapade mission that is going to go to Mars on a Blue Origin New Glenn rocket, which I really hope, cross my fingers, that it's going to be a successful launch. It's the first launch of New Glenn, and it's not a demo mission. It's not an easy mission. It's like they're shooting at the hardest of missions. Remember SpaceX with the Falcon 9 when they did the first launch of Falcon Heavy with Musk's cherry red Tesla Roadster. They wanted to insert that car into a Mars orbit, and SpaceX, after having launched, I don't know, 30 to 100 Falcon 9s, still missed I think the burn was too long, and then they overshot the orbit around Mars. So if I would have to bet money, no, it's even bad to say. I really want them to succeed, but the odds are not in that, not in their favor. So what I was trying to say is Rocket Lab is very nice because they keep giving us this update about their space systems business, which is their biggest business, right? Like rocket launch is only 30% of the business, and that's the space systems business is also for some reason very, very hard to judge. So whenever they post these pictures, we know like, okay, the factories are still burning, they haven't shut down. So that was something that is nice to see. Here's something that is very, very important. Peter Beck posted that the team is down now with the spin prime test with the Archimedes engine, and they're a bit funny because I think that there is a miscommunication between Rocket Lab and the investors, and I think that the miss is that Rocket Lab thinks that the investors know more about rockets and rocket engineering than they actually do. So when they said that the Archimedes engine was going to be on the Stennis test stand, my layman understanding was like, okay, they put it out there and then they light it on fire, and then we have a hot fire like within a week or two, but as it turns out, because it was delayed and delayed and delayed and delayed, I was looking into like what actually goes into a hot fire test, and whatever is happening at Stennis in NASA is completely normal, ordinary. They're on a good timeline. It's just somehow it was not communicated correctly that this is really how they get to know the engine. They set it up on the Stennis test center, and they connect the pipes, they check that all the pressures are correct, they see like where there is mistakes, they maybe have to iterate and replace some parts, and I guess that they're going to test like what is the max of the rocket, what is the lowest, how it operates in different things, and it takes time. And the product of this is you're going to have an engine that is ready to fly. So the minute you get all the data, you understand, okay, this is something that should take time, and it's good that it's taking time because then they did the work correctly, right? Let me just make sure I don't mess up on the comments. Sir Peter Beck and his rocket ski jets. Yeah, he posted a picture when Mark Zuckerberg posted this picture on Twitter where he was surfing and holding the American flag. There was a lot of people who commented that they thought that was Peter Beck. And to be honest, for a good second, I also thought that was Peter Beck. And then he commented under someone's comment that no, he had like a picture of his jet ski, and I'm going to see if I can find it, but it was a crazy good jet ski. Like that guy likes good machines. He had his like rocket bike and he has his rocket jet ski. I'm happy with $6 by the end of the year. $8 would be a real treat. Yeah, I mean, it's possible. As I said many times, I think that the fair value of Rocket Lab currently is for me between $6 to $8. If they get more contracts and certain announcements and Neutron is doing good, then yeah, we can discuss. Maybe the fair value becomes more. And please, someone make a picture of the knight on the jet ski. That's for Francisco Ramirez. He's amazing with the yeah, he's amazing with Rocket Lab memes. So this was the happenings on the Archimedes engine. Then this was really mind-blowing to me, so I thought that I would include it on this show. When the acceptable margin for satellite deployment is measured in kilometers, but your guidance, navigation, and control team delivers it within single-digit meters. That is just nuts how accurate Rocket Lab is. You can see that I guess this is the acceptable range, and it's like 100 meters. No, it's not even showing the acceptable range. So it's just showing like how close it is, but it's like kilometers are acceptable. And it's just a testament to how good Rocket Lab is. Now, here is another one that was very interesting Rocket Lab news. So I'm sure that you have seen some of the Rocket Lab creators complain about Electron reusability getting like a second seat, or it's not being really prioritized. And Mrs. Iglesias wrote to Rocket Lab Investor Relations and actually got an answer from Adam Spice, which is very surprising to me. And it just shows how much they care about retail investors. So she wrote, I recently posted that I had not been receiving responses from Rocket Lab Investors Relation. Today, I heard back from Adam Spice himself. He was able to clarify the question that Rocket Lab investors like Dave G Investing have shared recently regarding Electron reuse, a thread. One, according to Spice, this is information that has been shared in various conferences and webcasts, so I may share it here. He clarified Sir Peter Beck's recent comments by saying that they believe there are non-trivial cost savings that can come from electron booster reuse, but it's more beneficial to prioritize accelerating neutron instead of focusing on margin gains from electron booster reuse at this time. They also have engineering resources that are flexible and can swiftly shift focus between projects. Spice also went on to say that they have completed the R&D for electron booster reuse and now need to transition to production, which involves extensive work on instructions and the supply chain. The current aim is to refocus on electron recovery by the end of 2024. And target an electron booster reflight in 2025. Additionally, the Rocket Lab website should now be updated to reflect the Stifle conference link. All other investor events since are being described as one-on-one interviews with no web link at this time. I am very thankful for Adam's willingness to engage given his busy schedule. This reaffirms my ongoing confidence in investing in a company with amazing execution, transparency, and respect for their investors. So I agree with her, and it's kind of interesting because on last Rocket Lab Weekly, or was it the Rocket Lab Weekly before? I'm not sure. We were speaking with Matt Money about this exact thing, that on Neutron is a 55 million launch. And if you save 10% because you make it reusable, it's like $5 million. Or let's say that the rocket cost you 30 million and you save 10% of the rocket cost, it's like $3 million that you save. Electron, the rocket, the gross margin is almost 40%. So if the launch is 8 million, now I need my math skills, the 60% cost of goods would be 4.4 million. Yeah. And if you save 10% of that, it's 400,000. So it's almost an order of magnitude less than what you would get out of Neutron. And I also think that it's financially correct for the company to focus the attention on Neutron. And, whenever those engineers free up, then they just go back to Electron reusability. So I agree with the company there. Let me just see if you guys have any questions or anything you want to communicate, just comment here. And I want to just make sure I catch up with the comments. I wish my Ford was as reliable as Rocket Lab. I actually have a very old, one of the cars that I drive is a very old Ford Fiesta, I think 2017. It hasn't had anything wrong with it. So I was actually surprised how reliable that was. I drove it close to 200,000 miles now. So I'm pretty impressed with that. I'm happy with 4 to 5 year end. I mean, I can have also 4 to 5 at year end, but I would like it to be a little bit more, but I don't care so much. It's so weird. I either want the stock to really tank so that we can all start buying again, like go back to the threes, or I really want it to skyrocket. I don't want it to stay in between. Yeah, price will be range bound until Neutron news gets going. Yeah, what I'm really curious about is how the market is going to react to the Archimedes hot fire test, because you guys know that the markets are forward looking. Like, for example, Tesla reported very bad earnings, very bad deliveries, but it wasn't as bad as the street thought that it would be. And it signaled that, the worst is behind them, and the stock rallied. And logically, if the stock market was logical, we have the Archimedes test, and then we know that contracts will be coming for the Neutron, and then they announced Neutron contracts, and then the stock price should go up, right? But it could also be that they show the Archimedes hot fire test, and then the market understands that automatically this means contracts are going to be announced, and then they start front running this. So and plus, the Archimedes engine hot fire would take out a lot of uncertainty from the schedule of Neutron, and that alone might make a rally in the stock. Yeah, I'm also a proud Rocket Lab shareholder. Okay, I'm just in case I miss any of your comments, guys, just type it again. So to the rumor that some people thought I was clickbaiting about, and that is this tweet right here. So Tim tweeted, and by the way, if you're interested in Rocket Lab news, his account is really a must follow. He gives very, very good analysis. So I'm going to give you why I think this might be the case and why I think this might not be the case. So you will hear both sides of the coin here. Rocket Lab, interesting earnings call date for Rocket Lab. Why? By coincidence, 8th of August 24 is also the date that the SDA, Space Development Agency, intends to announce the sole winner of the PWSA Tranche 2 Transport Layer Gamma satellites. I estimate the winner to get a contract similar in size to the one which was awarded to Rocket Lab earlier in 2023. PR and communication-wise, the winner, it would make sense to plan the earnings call on the same day. So here's a thing that I already disagree with here on this statement. So he says that the earnings date being on the 8th of August is an interesting coincidence. So I just want to show you that, yes, this earnings call is on the 8th of August. You can see it here, but let's see, when was last year's earnings call? Oh yeah, it was also on the 8th of August. And then you go back to the year before, and that was August 11th. And we go back to a year before, and you don't really, that was when they just came, 8th of September. Okay, they probably didn't know how to do this. It was just after their DPO, yeah, whatever. So the point is that I don't really see the fact that they announced August 8th as such a coincidence to this, because they have been doing it pretty much in that range the last 3 years. So just need to know that. To add to the speculation, recently at the Stifel conference, Adam Spice added to the speculation, saying that Rocket Lab aims to double backlog from 1 billion to 2 billion with just 6 months left in the year. And I can confirm, because I have uploaded that conference on this channel. You can search for it and you will find a video. He really did say that. However, as a Palantir shareholder, I have an $8 cost average on Palantir. I also know that Adam Spice said that they are going for government contracts that are bigger or similar as the SDA contract that they have gotten, and also commercial contracts. So the thing that I've learned as a Palantir investor with these big government contracts is that they sort of come like whenever they come. It's you can't really count with it. Once you're awarded it, it's very stable, very sticky revenue. So that's good. But there's so many things that can happen to a government procurement, that they want more time, or certain people sue certain other people. And I mean, just on Palantir as an example, when I started covering Palantir, when was it, like 2-3 years ago, we started hearing rumors about an NHS UK contract, that they would get all the healthcare data handling in the UK. And for like a year, it was like, okay, this quarter it's going to be announced, this quarter it's going to be announced, now it's being announced. And it came, but it was very, very late. So it might be that, yeah, that's an internal goal for Rocket Lab to go from 1 billion to 2 billion in backlog. But if it's done with government contracts, it can be that they will only do 1.4 billion at the end of the year. And then next year they do 3 billion, but it's still contracts that were delayed from this year, if you understand what I mean. So now let's continue with this. Unless he was talking about neutron block deals, which I now expect in so half year 1, 2025, and there are only limited options left. This award is one of them. So this is also a correct statement. I also don't think that maybe they could have neutron block contracts, but that would be towards the end of this year. So we know that the SDA contract that they got was basically for the transport layer that was also tranche 2, and it was the beta satellites. This is the gamma satellites. So Rocket Lab was already awarded this type of contracts. It's not such a stretch that, like, I'm sure that Rocket Lab is bidding for this. That's what I'm trying to say. Before the winners are announced, the SDA is already for months in deep negotiation with the winner. The evidence, this is evidenced by the SDA director, Derek Tournier, already saying in October 2023 that they are in negotiations with an additional vendor for the transport beta. So they are in negotiations with an additional vendor for the transport beta layer, and that is Rocket Lab, which was only announced late December 2023. So definitely a possibility. Adam already knows this is going on. So what he's trying to say here is that Derek Turner, who is the director of SDA, was already saying in October that they're negotiating with an unnamed company, and that company was announced in December to be Rocket Lab. And if you remember, the announcement itself was also saying that they got a 515 million government contract, but it was confidential at first who it was. And then on earnings day, they had a segment about the SDA contract when they like revealed who the customer was. So definitely Adam Spice would know that the SDA is very, very interested, and they would be negotiating or being done negotiating, and now the contract is just going through the government bureaucracy lines. Fun fact, those satellites were moved from the gamma layer to the transport layer for strategic purposes. The gamma satellite type is also closely related to transport beta layer satellites. Hence, it is only one vendor. It makes sense to award these to a vendor which has experience with the transport beta layer. By the way, it's not my reading. I think the typing doesn't fully make sense, but I understand what he's saying. So the vendors for the beta layer are York Space, Northrop, Lockheed, and Rocket Lab. So basically what he's saying here is that the gamma satellite has, when I read it, like one additional sensor on the satellite. So it's almost the same as the beta satellite. So it would really make sense if they would choose out of these 4 companies who were already awarded beta satellites, because those companies are obviously already familiar with all the requirements, and the SDA knows how they work, and they have already done the due diligence on them. So this really makes sense. In addition to, you also want someone who can really deliver these satellites on time, since there is only one vendor. York Space, however, recently was in the news with supply chain issues for their contracted SDA work. Not likely a contender, in my opinion. Assistant Secretary of Space Force Acquisition and Integration also said about the large primes, Northrop, Raytheon, Lockheed, our biggest primes whine about supply chain, and I think they are the ones that have the resources and the assets to actually do something about it. Rocket Lab could, of course, do well on the schedule commitment front, but who knows? I don't have inside information. Maybe this is all just good old speculation. I want to say this is for sure speculation. And when Rocket Lab was awarded this contract, they actually said that one of the key points for the government was Rocket Lab's ability to basically guarantee a timeline for the satellites, because we know that Rocket Lab has, the in-house reaction wheels. They can make the solar panels and all the bottlenecks. Basically, Rocket Lab has in-house, and this makes them very attractive for these government contracts. So now I just wanted to show you, if you click this link, then you come here and you really can see that the SDA intends to make a single award, but reserves the right to make multiple or partial awards with a selection announcement planned by 8th of August. So it really is on the same day as earnings. So I want to see what you guys think in the comments. I think it's if we say now that, okay, they're for sure getting the contract, I know that we're going to go to August 8th. It's probably going to be like a live setup on my end, and, a guest there and everything. And then if the contract doesn't come, we will all be like, and I'm sure that the Q2 was an amazing quarter for them. So we would like ruin a good earnings day because we were very silly and built up our expectations. And if we go into the earnings expecting nothing, like it's going to be a good earnings, but not expecting this contract, we will be very, very nicely surprised. So my opinion on this is, I don't think that the earnings is on August 8th because of that announcement. Maybe it could have something to do with it. And Rocket Lab definitely could get that contract, but that's like, there is 4 other contenders. So Rocket Lab has a 25% chance. And then, maybe you could argue that it's more chance because, they're good with the supply chain and, certain other remarks that we were just reading. But it's very far from a for sure thing. So now I want to see all the people who said I was clickbaiting and there's no rumors and blah, blah, blah. Apologize to me in the comments, please. No, I mean, I don't care. You guys are free to comment anything. So I want to see what you guys are talking about here. So I don't think Rocket Lab scheduled their call around the announcement, but plausible that the announcement from the SDA was timed to the already scheduled call. Yeah, in any case, as you say, it would be very nice to have that contract. Yeah, Curtis, if you can get 20,000 shares of Rocket Lab, you will see it be worth millions in 5 years, $50 a share in 2029, 2030. My price target, people get surprised, or I saw some people get surprised. In 2030, I think we will be at $19. If you join the channel membership, you can see how I calculated. It's not a super bullish statement or calculation, and I count 0 to space infrastructure, and I think based on comments from Adam Spice, that they're like on Neutron, half of the Neutron is going to be flying their own infrastructure. I think that that's a mistake on my part, that I'm not thinking with that. So anything can happen, but let's agree on one thing. If you have 20,000 shares and the stock price is 19 in 2030, you can cry in your Porsche, okay? You will still be doing very, very well. Yeah, Curtis, you have 22,000. Keep on adding. Very, very good. Laura, you are not selling Tesla or Palantir. That's probably good on both crypto or any other ETFs to load it all into Rocket Lab, okay? Yeah, exactly. That's my valuation. You guys are awesome with the comments. Sorry. Okay, that was a joke. You don't have to apologize. Yeah, I like this comment. I highlighted it. Thank you so much, Curtis. Okay, so let me see what else I had planned for you guys. Yeah, this week in other space news, because sometimes we cover other space news. Not sometimes, or like if there is something big, we cover it on Rocket Lab Weekly. So Firefly Space had their 5th launch. They successfully launched after a lot of scrubs, and you can see that it was only their 2nd successful mission, but I think that that's okay when you're a very young rocket company. I'm actually going to reach out to them after this live to see if they want to be on the channel and talk about the company. Their CEO said that they will be cash flow positive next year. I have no clue how they would achieve that. It doesn't pass the smell test for me. But I would be very curious to have them on the channel, and either the CEO or someone CFO or someone qualified to talk about this, and to actually understand the competition of Rocket Lab, and also like what is out there. And I'm pretty sure that Firefly might become public at one time, and then it would be nice to know what's out there. Did you pick up an ASTS bag? So I have only 2 stocks, Palantir and Rocket Lab, and they are both around 50% of my portfolio. And I am a very concentrated investor, and I don't buy random things. ASTS, I did look at them. I think I even have a video about them on the channel, and they are potentially a very good buy if you believe that they are going to execute the way that they say that they would execute. Currently, they are a no revenue company with a few satellites going up in a few months, and then they still have to get finances to finance the rest of their satellites. And then if they manage to deploy their whole constellation and they get a lot of customers as they thought, then the stock price could go up to even like $60 a share. And last time I checked, it was $8. So, but you are taking a risk on the executions. That is a very, very big risk that you are taking. Should I sell 10 Tesla shares and add to Rocket Lab? It's gone up. So I don't really give financial advice on this channel, but let me tell you what I would do. I hate selling stocks, and especially hate selling stocks of companies that I very, very long-term believe in. So I think that if you have those Tesla shares, just sit on them. And the 10 Tesla shares would be $2,000, $2,500. So instead, try to send $2,500 new dollars to your broker account and buy Rocket Lab. Like, that's what I would do. And if you are really, really worried about Tesla, running up and coming back down, you can sell covered calls on your shares to, lock in some of the profits. So this is a very interesting question. What do you think Rocket Lab's constellation will address? If not space, internet, then what? So I did a video on this in the channel, that I think constellations is not as big a thing as it used to be. So there is a lot of organizations, companies that want to have their own constellation. And I'm of the opinion that Rocket Lab is going to have multiple constellations. And the first ones, I think, will be paid for by the military or the government. I read a lot of articles that the Marines and the Army, I might be messing up which branch of the Army it was, but it was like 2-3 branches who had a satellite together, and they thought that it was too bureaucratic because, like if one branch needed information, like it needed to check with the other branch if they can use that satellite, and it took too long time. So they basically were talking about each branch getting their own constellation. And also, like, for example, the Marines needed to be able to communicate better. And I think that Rocket Lab could get a communications contract from the Marines. So that's what Peter Beck was talking about, that it's not that the Marines is buying 18 satellites to do this. No, the Marines would go to Rocket Lab and say that we want to be able to communicate anywhere on the globe between two ships. How much would it cost? And Rocket Lab would say it would be $50 million, including launch. It's probably not 50 million. Let's say 500 million, including launch. And then if you want to have the service like a telecom company, pay us 20 million a year. And then you have that service. And the Marines doesn't even go into how many satellites and how it gets handled. And then I think Rocket Lab will be able to use those same satellites and have some maybe additional sensors on them and sell that service to other customers in space. And this solution would be insanely capital efficient. It would be very Rocket Lab-ish because they do have this tendency of, like getting paid to learn how to do things. Like, for example, when with Varda, they had the, what was it called? This space capsule that was making pharmaceuticals in space. And they returned, like it was down mass, like down from orbit, and they landed in the desert with that one, and they basically got paid to develop this ability to land back on Earth, so I think that Rocket Lab getting paid to deploy someone else's constellation, where they are able to resell that constellation to other folks, it would just be the ultimate Peter Beck way of doing it. Whoa, that was a very long answer that I gave on that one, but it's an important one. That's how I think it's going to happen. And none of this is in my valuation, and I know that that's crazy. So maybe when we get closer to it, I'm going to add it to the valuation. Curtis, you got out of ASTS at 1150. What was your cost basis on the buy? I went crazy and loaded up under $4. I really want 15,000 shares. Yeah, I mean, I guess I have this tendency. I was quite early on Palantir as well, and it seems like it was the same on Rocket Lab. I'm not sad, but sometimes I think, like, because I got, I wrote like a put option, and I got assigned 40,000 shares of Rocket Lab at $5, and sometimes I think like, if I would have waited a little bit, then maybe I could have bought those shares at $4, it would be better. But whatever, when this stock is in the 30s, 50s, and in the 80s many years from now, I'm going to be very, very happy that I have 65,000. And it's like Palantir. I got Palantir at $8, and I don't even remember my exact cost basis. But every time I look at Palantir, it closed at $27 on Friday, and I'm like, oh, why didn't I buy more? So, and even that I didn't catch the bottom, I could have put an extra $30,000 into Palantir because it was available to me, and that $30,000 would be like 110,000 just 2 years later. So don't be afraid to buy Rocket Lab just because it's not in the 3s anymore or not in the 4s anymore. Yeah, that's true. No way Marines would share a bandwidth with the public. I was thinking not necessarily that they share the bandwidth, but that on the satellites there is additional sensors. So let's say they add cameras and they have like some Earth observation aspect to the satellite, and then the Earth observation would be sold to customers, and then the bandwidth would be to the Marines. But it's all speculation. And even if because I do get this point that maybe the military satellites, they would be very sensitive on sharing it with anybody else, they still get paid to put their own constellation up and learn all this new thing. And I'm sure that one would be very, very profitable for Rocket Lab, and it would make it really, really easy cash flow wise to deploy their other constellations. Cool. So this was all the news. I did a lot of talking. I'm thinking about soon ending the stream. If you guys want to ask me anything or you have any opinions, please put it in the comments. And if you feel you get value from this channel, and you want to support the channel, you absolutely don't have to. Just you viewing and subscribing and commenting is already really, really good. Then you can join the channel membership. We have 14 fantastic members who support the channel and 3 Patreons. But I think it's better to be channel member, because then you get all these things next to your name when you comment. Yes. So let's see. Is Biden senile? Dude, that's like asking, is the sky blue, or is there gravity on Earth? And I'm sorry, I don't mean to offend anybody, but yeah, it is what it is. Do you lift, bro? I actually do, but I'm going through a very stressy period in my life, and my eating has been very effed up. So I probably gained like 10 kilos or 20 pounds in the last 1 year. And I was already not super thin going into this year. So I really want to handle my real estate company so that we are on the right footing again. And then I want to very aggressively lose weight and focus on lifting. That was very much not needed for this stream, but Blake, you you asked, so I thought I'd answer. So military pays for satellites, uses them for a year, and then does not renew the contract. That is possible. Rocket Lab gets network for nothing that way. I think that's highly, super highly unlikely to happen, because obviously the military would have to pay for, they would have to guarantee enough income to Rocket Lab that they, earn back the satellites that they put up, and they have a profit on it. And probably it will be a lot of upfront payments to Rocket Lab, and then if the military wants to switch away from Rocket Lab, they have to pay those setup costs to somewhere else. So I think that getting such a contract, I think Wall Street will love it, because it's very, very predictable income, very high margin income. And I think it's a very, very sticky income. Thanks for keeping on top of Rocket Lab. Yeah, you're very welcome. It's something that I wonder sometimes why I do this, but I really enjoy connecting with fellow investors. And the fact that I do this channel, it somehow makes me a better investor, because I'm not sure if I was doing the channel, I would be researching Rocket Lab as much. And yeah, I just really like the community. And I'm definitely not doing this for the money, because the amount of time that I spend on the channel, I counted it once, that probably my pay is something like $3 an hour or $6 an hour or something like that. So I'm definitely not doing this for the money, and I'm okay doing this. Yeah, even if for many, many, many years I don't see money from this. The only thing that, for example, why I think it's good with the channel memberships is because I want to up the quality of the content. And I have, like, for example, if I would have to travel to interview Peter Beck, or check on a Rocket Lab factory, I would have a very, very, very hard time justifying it with the current setup. So again, I don't like to talk about myself, but yeah, I felt like it needed to be shared. Peter Peck, hello. What do you think are the chances of Pete's jet ski being the first payload on Neutron? I don't know. I would say it's non-zero. At least I give you that. It's non-zero. But the way I know Peter Beck, I'm not sure that he would want to throw his jet ski on a rocket. I think it seemed like from the comment that he really likes the jet ski. Maybe if it gets into an accident and is totaled or something, and then he cannot fix it. Did you hear a rumor that SpaceX may go public in Texas? Like, do you mean that they go on the stock market in Texas? Is there a stock market in Texas? I didn't hear anything like this. And by the way, like, the only rumor that I'm hearing is that Starlink is trying to IPO, and SpaceX will still remain private. Yeah, will you be visiting New Zealand to see their facilities? I'm considering incorporating it as part of a trip. I mean, I'm not saying no. I'm definitely considering going to the Neutron launch, the inaugural launch, to meet with you guys and, you know, meet with Sir Peter back and the Rocket Lab team. I have 4 kids. I have 3 kids, and 1 new is on the way. In 4 months, I will have 4 kids, and to travel to New Zealand, I actually looked at it, and I think just the flight is 1 day, and then there's a huge time zone difference, and then the flight home is like another full day. And you know, my wife is really, really good on holding the front at home, and you know, when I have to have investor meetings, and I can just call home and say, like, honey, I cannot make it, like, you take care of the kids and take care of everything, and she does it. So I really respect her for that. But being away when you have 4 kids and 2 very small kids for that long is yeah, it's tough. Yeah, it's so true what you're saying, Ron. This channel is a long-term investment in and of itself. Guarantee you will have a ton more subs when we hit $19 a share. Yeah, and it's actually, you're so right, and it's so sad for me that it is like that. When I was covering Palantir and the stock price kept falling and falling, I started buying it at 12, and you know, then it fell. Then I bought again at 10, and then it fell. I bought again at 8, and then I think I barely had money left to nibble a little bit in the 6s. And the views of the channel was just going down and down and down. And there was more and more negative comments, like the lower the stock price went. And it's so weird because I felt like I was the most needed as a content creator when Palantir was at $6. Like, one, because I didn't want the guys who bought higher to, you know, lose faith and sell out too early. And then I wanted others to know about Palantir. Um, but it was like the most negative, both in comments and in views and in everything. And then Palantir started skyrocketing, and you know, the price went to 13, and then 15, and then it went to 20, and the views of the channel was like going up, and I'm like, oh, it should be the opposite. And I also even felt as a content creator that when Palantir was at 20, and it was basically what I've been saying and many other YouTube creators have been saying, like, it played out, like that bull thesis played out. And I was like, I don't know what to make content about, because now it's, you know, when your stock is going up, it's so simple to hold it. And you know, I went through this with Rocket Lab, that I bought at 420, we went up to 6 something, and then we fell all the way down to 3. And I felt very needed as a content creator. And I have my own emotions, guys, too. Like, I was down a lot on Rocket Lab when we were down in the 3s, and my account was close to being margin called, and it was like a very big headache for me. Like, what can I do to, you know, not get margin called? And I still turned on the camera and I was doing the show, and you know, it was like having my emotions over there in a corner and having the long-term investor hat on. And so far it worked out. I cannot guarantee that I'm going to be right about every single stock prediction that I make, because I don't think nobody's 100% right. I was right about Palantir, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to be right about Rocket Lab too. But yeah, it's a sad fact that we will have a lot of surprise subscribers when the stock is 19. But now is the time to be buying. Oh wow, my dad and I are both in Rocket Lab because of your interview with Peter Beck. Ah, thank you. That's actually an honor. Um, okay, guys, you are so amazing on the comments. I'm like not keeping up. It's funny. I hope it's okay, Taz. Did Matt Money consult you before switching from Palantir to Rocket Lab full time? If so, what was the convo like? So no, I got like how I came in contact with Matt Money. And again, I was just speaking about this, that when Palantir went up to $20, I was like, okay, I'm not useful as a content creator. Like, yes, I can make daily videos about Palantir, but like I don't know, it didn't feel the same as when the stock was at $6, you know. And I also felt happy, like at that time my position on Palantir was like 250,000 and it was like 90% of my position, right? So I felt that okay, like I did my job on Palantir and I'm still following it as a creator and I'm making videos about Palantir when it's warranted, but it's not like a daily grind now on Palantir because of how well that stock price did. And then I started looking for new stocks to invest in. And I said this many times on the channel that I don't diversify for diversification's sake. So I wanted to find a company that I can study and find an understanding that the market doesn't see yet, and really invest into that company. And my Rocket Lab story started with that I wanted to write articles for Seeking Alpha, and then I found a list that they pay you to write articles on undercovered companies, and the number one, or I was like going through their list and I was like, Rocket Lab, how are they still alive? Like I thought that SpaceX was going to kill them. That company is a joke. Let me write the bearish article about them. And then I started researching Rocket Lab. And boy, I like my viewpoint changed like upside down. I was really impressed that they didn't go bankrupt. I was really impressed how far they came. And then I was looking into their growth numbers. And then I read Ashley Vance's When Heavens Went on Sale book, which I really recommend to anyone who wants to invest in Rocket Lab. And when I read that book, I was like, okay, I'm sold. Like, sell the house, mortgage the kids, and just go all in on Rocket Lab. And then I wanted to do because I'm part of a Palantir Weekly show, and I wanted to have something similar for Rocket Lab. So I actually reached out to different creators, and I reached out to Matt Money because I knew him from Palantir Weekly. And he immediately said yes. And I didn't even know how much he knows about Rocket Lab. And then we did the first Rocket Lab Weekly together. And I was shocked about how like detailed knowledge he has about Rocket Lab, how well researched he was. And I got really impressed with him over time on how good of an investor he is. So that was the answer. Yeah, we're going to be good in the second half of the year. And I cannot agree more with this. So catalysts that are coming up. So the Q2 earnings is coming. We're going to have the first $100 million, over $100 million quarter. And we're going to have like 70% growth, second quarter in a row. All the numbers I think are going to be looking very, very good. So the earnings in itself might be a catalyst. Then we have this comment from Adam Spice that they're trying to make the backlog from $1 billion to $2 billion. Now, are they going to reach it? I don't know. But they haven't really had any significant contracts this year yet. Keyword is yet. And I said this many times, even if they only reach 1.5 billion in backlog, I will still be a very, very happy camper. But in the last 6 months, the only way to reach that is they need to announce new contracts. And it has to be bigger contracts, right? So that's a potential catalyst. The Fed is going to start decreasing interest rates. And there's just so much more catalysts that are out there, and I think we're going to have a fantastic second half of the year. And keep in mind this rumor that we just went over. Again, I don't know if it's true. I wouldn't. My expectations are that it's not true, and I will be very positively surprised on August 8th if this contract is announced. Like this, for me, how it is mentally the easiest. But it's not even like, if you ask me what's the chance that it's true, I would say like maybe 40%, 35%. So quite high likelihood that it's true. Plot twist: Dave G is Laura G's father. Yeah, mortgaging the kids is a nice way to avoid. Yeah. Oh, thanks for recommending this book. I'm actually going to screenshot this and save it for me, because I was looking for another book to read about space. Cool. Well, I think I answered everyone's comments. Thank you so much. You're an amazing audience. And yeah, please make sure that you're subscribed to the channel, and see you in future videos. And make sure you hold your Rocket Lab shares. And we're going to have an amazing second part of the year. Ciao, ciao, guys.